Then the Lord appeared to him and said, "Do not go down to Egypt. Live in the land of which I shall tell you. Dwell in this land, and I will be with you and bless you. For to you and your descendants I will give all these lands, and I will perform the oath which I swore to Abraham your father. And I will make your descendants multiply as the stars of heaven. I will give to your descendants all these lands, and in your seed all the nations of the earth shall be blessed, because Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws." So Isaac dwelled in Gerar. Okay, that's Genesis 26, verse 1 to 6. So here's the map again. And there's the place where Isaac was living, and the Bible tells us there was a famine. And Isaac moved a little bit north to Gerar. That's where it is, okay? Maybe, so you can see the green spot there. Maybe it's more fertile, okay? So he moved up there. But he was ready to move from there to Egypt, okay? And if you remember, this is the whole part of Egypt, but probably most likely he's going to move to that green part, which is called Goshen. Okay, Goshen is where Joseph ended up living, and Jacob, and so on. Okay, and they were. This is a very, very fertile land. So Isaac was about to move to Goshen or to Egypt to get some food. But if you think about it for a moment, this is exactly what the father did, Abraham. Because if you remember in Genesis 12, Abraham, also, when he received a call from God, he experienced a famine and he moved. Because this is what it says in Genesis 12. He says, "Now there was a famine in the land, so Abraham went down to Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was severe in the land." So Isaac was ready to move just like the father did to Egypt. But look what it says again. God said to him, "Do not go down to Egypt. Live in the land of which I shall tell you. Dwell in this land, and I will be with you and bless you," and so on and so on. So Isaac dwelled in Gerar. So here's the point, church. The call of Isaac is totally opposite of his father, Abraham. Okay? It's totally opposite. God called out Abraham out. It's an exodus in a sense. It's leaving behind. But the call to Isaac was a call to stay put. Do not go down to Egypt. Stay in this land where I'm going to bless you, and so on and so on. So the call of Isaac was a call to stay, to be rooted, and to occupy the promised land. So Abraham was a call to come out. It's a season of his life or our life that we have to come out of something. But Isaac's call, if we are in that season, is a call to be rooted, to stay put where God has placed you. So to put it pictorially, maybe the call of Abraham was a call of being uprooted, like this little plant. But the call of Isaac is a call to be rooted, to stay grounded where God placed us. So how does this apply, church, to us in our lives today as Christians in a practical sense? Very simply, it means that if we are in this particular season in our life, God wants us to stay where we are. Not necessarily just geographically, but maybe relationally. Maybe okay, give you some examples. Maybe you don't like your job right now. Your boss is mean to you, and you're ready to leave the company because you feel like it's a dead-end job, whatever it is, but you're praying, and you sense in your heart, God says, "No, stay put. I want to use you there. I want you to be grounded there because I want to train you." That's a training ground. And that could be a season in our life. It could also be in a relationship. Maybe you've been sharing the gospel to your parents or to your colleague, to your neighbor, and you've been praying for them, and you've been sharing faithfully, but you see no fruit, and you're ready to give up. And God says, "No, stay put. Keep on that relationship with that neighbor of yours. Keep on sharing to that colleague of yours, because I want you to be a blessing in that person's life, because in due season you will reap the fruit." Maybe it could be something else. It could be something that's very big, and that is in our marriage. Of course, in a marriage, there's no season of coming out, okay? But it's important for us because this is something that, a statistic is very bad. And I just want to encourage us. Maybe I don't want to take it for granted. Maybe there's some of us here right now feel like you want to get out of your marriage. Maybe some of you have thoughts in your mind and said, "Man, I did not sign up to get married to a guy like this or a woman like this." But if you have any thought like that, God will tell you, stay put. Be grounded, be rooted, because this is the man or the woman that you have chosen to make a commitment. Stay put, be rooted. Be rooted in that marriage so that you can grow, so that you can bear fruit as a couple together. Don't take an exit in this kind of thing. Because it's the devil, the enemy that wants to attack and then give us temptation. Another application is a big one, of course, is in the church or in our ministries. There are times maybe you want to leave the church or you want to leave the ministries. But God said, stay put. You know, I've been in ministry long enough and I'm getting old enough that I begin to see, and I know people who like to hop from church to church to church to church. There's time, of course, we have to move. But so many times people move because, for little reasons. And God doesn't want that. A plant that is uprooted every year from one ground to another ground will be hard to grow and to be a healthy plant and to bear a lot of fruits. I'm not against moving. But you have to know for what reason you are moving. Honestly, if you want to leave this church, if you believe God led you into this church, then you have to believe it is God's will also that leads you out of this church. All I ask is that if you want to leave, just pray. If God says yes, if God's leading you, then go for it. If you tell me that, Pastor, God told me that it's time for us to move to, let's say you want to move to Prestonwood, or you want to move to Gateway, or whatever church you want to go, I will bless you. Make a party if you want to. If you really believe in your heart that God led you out. What bothers me is that when people leave the church because they have a problem with someone, or they're tersinggung, they're offended, their heart is a little bit wounded, or you don't like the pastor, or you don't like the food, or in my old church, our service is exactly 59 minutes, but in LIC it's 90 minutes plus. So whatever it is, and so a little bit of imperfection, and suddenly people leave the church. A little conflict, a little problem. Oh, you got offended a little bit. You have people like that. And I'm telling you, if that happens, you're not going to grow. You're not going to bear fruit. When I served in our church in Toronto for 16 years, when I first came on staff, I was the first staff that kind of graduated from seminary. So they tell me to do a lot of things, like making the statement of faith, the bylaws and all this kind of stuff. And one of the things, of course, is also to make the application form for church membership. And of course, I pick up from here and there, and I learn from different churches. But I put one of the questions I put in our application form over there. The question I put in there is this: in the last 5 years, how many churches have you attended? Now, I'm not talking the question how many churches have you visited as a visitor. You can visit different churches once in a while because there's a great speaker, you want to hear the speaker, that's okay, or you're invited by a friend. But I'm talking about how many churches in the last 5 years have we planted, we have attended and become a member, and then you move and you move and you move. And when I see that application form, if I see a person in the last 5 years, they moved more than 2 or 3 churches. And without good reason, not because they are job, relocation and kind of thing, but they've been living in the same city or same community. In the last 5 years, they've moved 2, 3, 4, 5 churches. I smell trouble. Okay? That's a warning sign. Now, there are times when God maybe wants to move us around. But more time than not, God doesn't work that way. He wants us to be planted. He wants us to hold grounds. He wants us to be accountable. He wants us to grow, to be strong, to be accountable, to bear fruit. And it hurts sometimes. But we have to do that. And so when I see a person, who's been moving 3, 4, 5 churches, 1 church per year, that's a sign that either that person has lack of accountability or is looking for a perfect church, and then you know that there is no such thing as a perfect church, perfect congregation, perfect leaders, perfect pastor. And that person is going to be moving. So I want to encourage you, church. This is a call to be rooted. This is a call of Isaac that wherever ground that it is, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a business, whether it's a family, whatever it is, in a city, God wants us to be rooted where God, to hold our ground and bear much fruit. So what's the danger? Okay, so what is the danger? What is the challenge of this particular call of Isaac? Number one, just like the father, is a compromise. I want you to know that Isaac compromised. And this is a dangerous thing. Take a look at this. We read this earlier. God spoke to him. He says, do not go down to Egypt. Live in the land of which I shall tell you. But look what it says. And God made a promise to dwell in this land, and I will